If you are posting on social media and still not making money, it is not because of how many followers you have or because you aren't consistent enough. And yes, those things do matter, but that's not why you're not making money. There are creators right now with small audiences that are making consistent income online. And then there are creators who have hundreds of thousands of followers who are barely even making anything online. And if you're in that second category, I get how frustrating it can be because from the outside, it looks like you should be further along by now. So if that's you, I want you to actually listen to this part. It's not that you're doing everything wrong. It's that you're doing a few key things slightly off. And those small misalignments are what's actually keeping you stuck. And the worst part is they don't feel like mistakes, but in reality, those are the exact things slowing you down. So in this video, I'm going to break down the biggest mistakes I see creators making, and then I'm going to tell you exactly how to fix each one as we go. Because I don't want you finishing this video feeling motivated. I want you to finish it knowing the exact things that you need to change. But before we dive in, hi, my name is Katrina Labar. I am a social media and business coach. I help business owners and service providers grow and scale on social media. So if you are new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my videos. Okay, now let's dive into the mistakes. So the first mistake, and this one quietly controls everything else, is that you don't actually believe you're worth paying for. And before you roll your eyes and say this could be some mindset speech, just stay with me for a second, because this actually shows up in really subtle ways. It shows up when you tell yourself you need more experience before you can actually charge more. It shows up when you think your content is too basic to monetize. It shows up when you keep giving value but never actually position yourself as someone people can learn from in a deeper way. And what's happening underneath all of that is you're waiting for some kind of external validation to tell you that you're actually ready. But the reality is that most creators don't suddenly feel ready. They actually decide that they are. And here's the part that might shift things for you a little bit. If people are already watching your content, engaging with it, saving it, asking you questions, then that is already proof that you have something valuable to share. People don't engage with things that don't help them. So when you sit there thinking, who am I to charge for this? You're actually ignoring the fact that people are already benefiting from what you're sharing. And I think a lot of creators get stuck here because they assume that what they know is obvious. It feels easy for you, so that you think it's not valuable. But that's exactly why it is valuable, because you've already done the work to understand it. So instead of waiting until you feel more qualified, I want you to start paying attention to the proof that already exists for you. So go back through your comments, your DMs, the messages people have sent you, look at what they're asking you for help with, and then look at what they're thanking you for, because that is literally your audience telling you where the value is. And once you start seeing that clearly, it becomes a lot harder for you to keep telling yourself that you're not ready. The second mistake is something I don't think gets talked about enough, but it's probably one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck for so long. And it's this pattern of starting to gain momentum and then pulling back. And if you've ever felt like you're constantly restarting, this might be why. Things begin to work for you. You start seeing growth. Your content starts picking up traction. Maybe you start making your first sale. And instead of leaning into what's working, you slow down. You start overthinking your content. You start questioning what you're even doing. You hesitate, and it feels like burnout to you. But most of the time is not actually burnout. It's just discomfort. You've stepped into a level that your brain doesn't fully understand. It's not comfortable with yet. And instead of expanding into it, your instinct is to pull back to what feels safe and familiar. So you unintentionally break your own momentum. And this is why some creators stay in the exact same cycle for months and sometimes even years. They get close to a breakthrough, but they don't stay consistent long enough that that level actually starts to stabilize. So the shift here is not about doing more. It's about staying when things start working. The next time you feel yourself pulling back, getting a little anxious, I want you to actually pay attention to it, because most people don't. They just slowly disappear and then justify it. So pause and ask yourself, am I actually stuck right now? Or am I just uncomfortable with the growth that's happening? Because if it's discomfort, the answer is to not slow down. The answer is to keep showing up through that feeling. And that's the part that builds real momentum in your business. Now let's talk about the third mistake. And it's something, and I know a lot of you are doing, even if you don't realize it, which could be the main reason you are not making any sales online right now. You're avoiding talking about your offers. You're avoiding selling, and not in an obvious way. You're still showing up, you're still posting, you're still giving value. But when it comes to actually talking about your offers or promote something or tell people how to go deeper with you, you hold back. Maybe you mention it once and then never again. Maybe you keep it super vague flag or avoid it completely because you don't want to come across as pushy or salesy. And I get it. No one wants to feel like they are constantly selling. But the reality is, if you never clearly tell people how they can work with you, they're never going to figure it out on their own. People need direction. And a lot of creators are sitting there thinking their audience just isn't interested in what they are offering, or they don't even know what's available for them because you don't mention it, or you mentioned it once and then just assume people would remember. So the shift here is not about becoming overly salesy. It's about becoming clear. If you have something that can help people, it is your responsibility to communicate that. Not once, not hiding it within one story, not buried in your bio, but consistently in your stories, in your content over and over again until you become known for the offers that you have. Because the people who are ready will lean in and the people who aren't won't. And that's totally fine. But right now, you're not even giving people the right opportunity to dive into your offers with you. So start talking about them multiple times a week and giving clear directions on the steps your audience needs to take. Now, the fourth mistake that's keeping you stuck is that you're treating this like something that you'll take more seriously later. You tell yourself, once I grow to this amount of followers, I'll treat it more like a business. Or once I start making more money, then I'll get more strategic with everything. But it actually works the opposite when you are building your business with this mindset. You have to start treating it like a business before it starts paying you like one. That means you need to show up consistently, even when you don't feel like it. That means paying attention to what's working instead of just posting randomly and seeing what pops off. That means being intentional with your content instead of just hoping something hits. And I think this is where a lot of people get it twisted. They think being strategic means losing authenticity, but it actually doesn't. It just means you're not playing a guessing game anymore and you are showing up and posting intentionally. You can still be yourself, you can still be creative, but there needs to be some level of direction behind what you're doing because random content leads to random results. And if you want consistent income, you need consistent actions, which means knowing what your goals are and then taking the right action to hit them. Now, this fifth mistake is a big one, especially if you've been focused only on growth. You've built an audience, but you haven't built trust with them. And there's a major difference. You can have people watching your content and engaging with you every single day and still not have a single person ready to buy from you because attention does not equal trust. And trust is what actually drives sales when you've built a community of people who know you and trust in what you offer. So if your content is only focused on getting views, going viral, or hopping on all the trends, you might grow faster, but you're not necessarily building a connection with them. And without that connection, there's not going to be a real foundation for monetization. So the shift here is to start paying attention to how you're engaging with your audience. Are you actually talking to them or are you just posting at them? Are you responding to what they're saying? Are you creating content based off of their questions? Because the more your audience feels understood, the more they trust you. And the more they trust you, the more likely they are to invest in what you offer. So I want you to get to know what your audience pain points are, their biggest desires, and then connect the dots with your content so that your audience feels seen and understood. And the last mistake I want to talk about is something that seems simple, but it's one of the biggest gaps I see. You don't have a clear path for people to follow. So you're creating content, you're providing value, but there's no real structure behind it. There's no next step for them to take. There's no clear direction for someone who wants more with you. Even if someone is interested, even if they're ready to jump in right now, they don't know what to do, where to go, how to take, what step to take next. And when there's confusion, people don't act. So the fix here is to simplify things. Your content should be an easy lead to one of your offers, whether that's a free resource, an email list, an offer, something. There needs to be a natural next step because content by itself doesn't make money. It just opens the door for it. So what happens after that is actually what converts. So I would recommend giving your profile and offers an audit and then find the disconnect. Does your content naturally lead your audience into one of your offers? And if not, then you need to create content that does. So if you've been feeling stuck, if you've been feeling like you're putting in effort and still not seeing results, I would really want you to take a second and reflect on this because chances are it's not because you're doing everything wrong, it's that you're doing a few things in a way that's not fully aligned with where you're trying to go. And the good news is this is definitely fixable. You don't need to start over. You don't need to completely reinvent everything that you're doing. You just need to make a few key shifts in how you're thinking and how you're showing up. So don't try to change everything at once. I want you to pick one thing from this video and then the one thing that hit you you the most and actually work on that this week, because that's how real progress happens. And I want to know, what's one thing you realized while watching this video that you've been doing without even noticing? Drop it in the comments because I would love to see where you're at. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.